Did I do a good job with the story at the beginning?
Thank you so much. It was really in Paris, although I know the story by heart. But, yeah, seeing the photo of everyone moving and moving again.
So thank you for staying up so late to speak with us. And you have a big audience here who saw your film in the United States, really a personal film. So maybe we can have some applause for Alice. Such a labor of love for you, and I know you have a very demanding professional career, so really extraordinary that you did this. I want to start by asking you about the moment when you realized that you were not simply visiting your Uncle Dodo to learn about family history, but you were going to make a film. And not only a film, but a film about the Berensons. What were you hearing from Dodo that made you decide to make a documentary film?
Well, as you also know, probably, I did with my smartphone, the movie. Why I did the smartphone? Because when I visited Dodo, the initial intention was to just record for the family. Because no one had heard in my family about Mathilde and Rosette. What we knew was that my grandfather Leon and his brother Dodo survived crossing the Pyrenees. And when I was a kid myself, my grandfather was telling me the adventure story about crossing the Pyrenees, trying to look at the positive side of things. We knew that members of our family, sisters and brothers of my great grandmother, Masha Ekman von Goldstein, were deported in Poland. The ones who remained in Poland were deported. But we didn't know that she had a sister with her in northern France and who married the Berenson, and we didn't know about the Berenson. So when I interviewed Dodo for the family with my smartphone, just to keep track of, the story of the Pyrenees, he started to cry and say, well, there was Mathilde and Rosette as well. And then I asked around my family and saying they didn't know about. And so I trusted Dodo. I knew, he had a very good memory for his age, but I still wanted to double check, to find proof of the life of Mathilde and Rosette and parents. But to go back to your question, Scott, what I said was my mission after the first interview with Dodo. I said, well, that's, he's talking now after so many decades of silence. It felt on me. This is going beyond my family. It's not just about my family. It's about children. It's about so many children who were deported from Laos. It's about the parents, of course. It's about more than 500 people. And this history facts from northern France, I mean, Shoah in northern France is not much known. The history about the mining history is more known for the story of socialism in northern France, but the Shoah in northern France has not been documented. So I thought, well, it's my mission, I have to do it. And I was not a filmmaker before, but I said, okay, I take my savings, I self-produce this, and I should do it very seriously to try to be at the level of the drama. We are never at the level, and we can never properly pay tribute to Mathilde and Rosette. But I try my best, at least by seeking a professional editor who helped me with the film and by trying to make it known as widely as possible.
Well, you did an extraordinary job, and it's just so interesting to me that your family didn't talk about these relatives. You didn't know they existed, and the same with mine. But now you've really brought them to life. Your family returned to the north of France following the war, and you grew up in the north of France, not far from Lens. And so many in your community in Lille, where you grew up, were touched by the Holocaust. What was it like to grow up in that environment?
Well, I grew up in Lille. I'm born in '84. I grew up in Lille. I don't know if some of you in the room went to Lille. It's 1 hour by train from Paris. I grew up there. I was there until I was 18 years old, and I moved out for my studies. But well, two things. First, even if I didn't use the details of of the Berenson and Mathilde, I felt the weight of the trauma on my shoulder very much. I guess it's the case for many of us. It jumped from one generation to another, less strongly certainly than my father, and but I really felt very sensitive whenever I saw a movie about Shoah, whenever I heard about Shoah. I was so sensitive that I couldn't see it, basically. That's the first thing. And second, on more, I would say, um, current affairs, I mean, more related to what's going on. I grew up in a clearly anti-Semitic environment, being the only Jew of the school, of my middle school, of my high school. Basically, I didn't say I was a Jew because it was a basic insult, just a random insult when you just say that's addressed to everyone. What a dirty Jew, don't do your Jew, don't be a Jew. People were saying that to each other without having never met a Jew, so I felt, better just shut up. Not because I was ashamed, but just for safety reason at that time. And then step by step, I climbed up the social ladder, I could say, and in Paris, I'm now surrounded by Jews and very different atmosphere. It's rather safe in big cities in France. So it really depends the surrounding, and the movie is not about specifically anti-Semitism, but for sure, when I hear Dodo telling his story, I hope that Jews in France will have a future, but I'm not sure.
Let's return to the film for a second. When you were making the film, this was obviously a film about your family, the family that you knew. But did you think about whether or not Shmuel had a family, and whether or not there were any relatives of his that were still alive?
Scott, you're a miracle. I mean, our relationship is miraculous in a way. I don't know how to say it. It's just like when I received your message via Twitter, followed by a photo of my grandfather in the 30s with Dodo and the Berenza. I said, this can't be possible. I didn't guess this would happen. I couldn't expect that. But I knew that I should do the movie, and the movie would have consequences far beyond me and my family. And I'm so grateful to you, Scott, and I'm so happy that our family is reconnected more than 8 years after. Because the movie is not just about death, it's also about life and how to live after. And thanks to you now, it's also about reconnection, how our families reconnect after such a long time being apart. So
Thanks to you.
movie, how to say, from the beginning, from the first day it was shown to cinema, I received emails, mainly from France, but also from Israel, from people who were in class, going to my grandfather with Dodo, people who tell me a lot of anecdotes, but also I received very moving emails from descendants of family members not my family members, but descendants of people people who saw their family name in the register at the school. So people of my generation who saw name of their great grandparents in the register, and from that, now the register is in the National Archives, and they use that document also to inquire about their own family history. So through that process, I generated other processes, and it's noble, So I think now, but of course, I would say the most beautiful reconnection is with you, and that's a story that I hope we will be able to share on other occasions, because it's really amazing.
So you have been showing this film, especially in the north of France, and you've made an educational guide to go with it. Tell us about your hopes in terms of the film, in terms of young people, and what they'll take away from it.
Yeah, well, I did my best. So first, the movie was released in Cinematters in Paris, but it was during COVID, so cinemas were quite empty. It was difficult to.
I remind everybody it came out in April of 2020.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Yeah, and then I got some, from cinema screenings, I got some positive feedback from a history teacher in France who said that they would like to use it in class. So I said, sure, I'll go for it, here's a file. And then I realized that it was useful, especially if it's less than 1 hour. It's 15 minutes, which fit a classroom time in France. I don't know about the US, how long is a history class, but anyway, it's used more and more in classroom, and we shared with the Association of French History Teacher Q&A and a whole package to help use the document and the movie in class. It's very important for me at that level, of course, because I don't know if what document is used in the US, but in France, we still in the end lack documents that are telling, that that is transmitting a very, I would say, contemporary sense of Shoah. The fact that Dodo, was the first was testimony, and that could share his story is important. And also on another level, and that goes back to the previous answer, the fact that in northern France, where there is almost no Jews left, at least in Lens where you've been, I remember I welcomed you and I said, here it's a shithole. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound snobbish Parisian, but I must say it's very, it's a very difficult city to live in. There's a high employment, all Jews left, basically. I mean, there is remaining of a kind of synagogue, but I don't know. There's almost no one at Shabbat. And I think it's important to show this movie there in Lens. So it was screened in several schools, high schools in Lens, in front of kids who never saw a Jew in their life, and who also did this movie, I hope, will help counter the prejudices, the preconceived ideas they may have about Jews, just seeing that we don't control the world, that Dodo and all our normal people, if we can say, etc. And also, I hope that they felt moved about the movie. Not all felt sensitive to the movie, but some, and that's already a win for me and for the history teachers. So trying to teach about Shoah.
So in a moment, I'm going to open it up to your questions, so if you want to begin to think of them. But I have one last question. When I first met you, you mentioned that you were pregnant. And in September, I think it was September of 2021, sorry, you gave birth, yes, to Lisa, yes? Yes. So when Lisa is older, I'm sure you're going to show her this film, and that she's going to take much from it. On this Yom HaShoah, tell us what you hope Lisa's going to take from this film and from your experience making it.
It's strange because when I did this movie, I was not yet married, I was not yet pregnant, and this story, Dodo testimony felt on me at a time where I was ready to receive the story and do the movie. I wouldn't be able to do it now because when you have a young child and you are researching on deported children, it's too heavy and it's too hard to deal with psychologically. At the time, it was not easy, but I could deal with it. And I think I did it unconsciously, not to transmit the whole weight of the trauma to my daughter to be born. I did it for my father for this movie because when he saw it, he said, "Well, you did what I always wanted to do, to inquire. If there was a silence in the family, he wanted to confront that silence, but it was too hard for him. And I felt this heavy burden of history on my shoulder, and I hope that my daughter now and later will not feel the same heaviness. Of course, it's good to remember and to feel sensitive about the topic, but to see life and move forward as much as possible. So what I would like to transmit to her is maybe Rosa's word, to slalom in life. Also to enjoy life as she does and still doing. She's still very much alive and enjoying life with coffee and en place and everywhere.
Apple strudel.
And,
Apple strudel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm feeding my daughter as much as Rosa is feeding me, by the way. I don't know if this is hereditary, but there's something going on here. But also, I want to mention that my daughter's second name, Hebrew name, is Rivka, named after Rivkali, Rebecca, which.
Wow, beautiful. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I don't want to put a too heavy burden on her, and I will never, I think, well, I said in front of you, but I don't think I will tell her the link to explicitly. If she wants to discover it, she will be able to, but I hope just that she will just enjoy life as much as possible, which we should all do. I think as a testimony to survivors and to members of the family who didn't have the chance that we have today.
Beautiful. Well, I think your secret is safe with all of these people. Any questions for Alice or for me?
Thanks. I'm just curious. So it sounds like your family, or maybe Alice's family, knew about the one brother who was deported from Poland. I think why? Do you have any idea why they didn't know about the sister? Does that make any sense? Didn't you say if one of the siblings that they knew was deported from Poland, but then so they knew about part of the family and the history, but they didn't know about the history of Masha, the sister. I'm sorry, right?
Yeah. So it's a question not so much what was known by the older generation, but what was known by the two of us. We didn't know that this family existed. But in any case, she's talking about her family that was deported. So Masha's sisters.
Yeah, nobody knew. I mean, my father, his brother, my aunt, three siblings, nobody knew that Masha had a sister in France. They thought she had stayed in Poland. You understand? And the beautiful story they were saying was, yeah, everyone who stayed in Poland ended up deported, but we stayed in France survived, and that was also a way to kind of be able to still live in France and think that the context was favorable. But as you know, French policemen contributed also to arrest and to the deportation process. So no, we didn't know about. We knew she had a sister, but we didn't know the sister was in Lens and was married to Schmiel and had two daughters. So we didn't know about the four members of the Berenson Ekman family.
Over here. Wait. She won't hear you without.
Hi. Okay. I have a question. How did Dodo and your grandfather escape deportation? Weren't they relatively young, too?
Yeah, actually, they left Lens earlier than the Berenson, and that's how they escaped. It's they in the car. So I think there's still also a strong sense of guilt from Dodo's side, because in the car they took siblings from the other side of the family. So the car was packed. They had a car. And they decided to move earlier. The Berenson stayed in Lens. It's unclear why they stayed. I think also it's a fact also that they were religious, that they thought also that it was also good to stay with the community. It's very, I mean, we don't have a clear-cut answer to how it happened, and what I knew is that they tried to take out as many people as they could in the car, and also that crossing the Pyrenees was a very difficult. First, they ended up in Toulouse, the first step. Then they joined the resistance in Toulouse. They were 18 and 16, and after that they crossed. They had to leave Toulouse. My great grandmother was hidden in Toulouse. My great-grandfather died in Toulouse, mixed of disease contracted as a minor in northern France, as explained in the movie, and also I would say he was depressed at the same time. That's what Dodo explained to me. My grandfather and Dodo crossed the Pyrenees and ended up in Lerida in northern Spain. After, well, it's a long story. Yeah? And after that, they ended up in northern Africa, still in the resistance. And only after the war ended, and without their father who died in Spain, they came back to France and tried to just to move again. And it was a rather modest background, and tried to take back the house that was previously occupied by the Germans, tried to buy back the furniture that were also taken away, and on the process of rebuilding a life in Lens, as Dodo mentioned. It was they tried to have a happy life, but they say tried to, but we knew it was, of course, extreme. Sorry, I'm trying to summarize a very complicated journey. Maybe it's not difficult, but I remain available if you have questions by email or also stuff.
As I understand it, most of those who survived, they survived because they fled to the south of France. Yeah, but those who stayed perished, most of them. I mean, you heard 17 came back to Lens. Other questions?
Thank you. In a couple of scenes, we see Dodo writing something. Did he write his memories, or what was he writing?
He wrote about the story of the Pyrenees. So I still have the papers, and because he wrote quite slowly, I would say there is less information than what he managed to convey through through the recording. I must say there was the rush of the amount of recording taken for the movie was quite extensive, and I had to make some choice, just to convey. I wanted to focus on Mathilde Rosette, but also I decided not to focus too much on the crossings of the Pyrenees. Because that's not the part I wanted to focus on, given that I wanted to pay tribute to the Berens and to Mathilde and Rosette first and foremost. So I want to underline here that it's not, I would say, a standard documentary movie, history documentary movie, in a sense that for me it's more soul searching, trying to pay tribute to Mathilde and Rosette. It's more personal quest towards finding proof of former life of Mathilde and Rosette. That's why I put image of the register, image of the pictures, of the photos, and I think also it's very telling, Scott, that you sent me a photo, and that these photos traveled. And also, I want to say that my at some point, I was so moved by this story, and I just wanted to make Mathilde and Rosette known as widely as possible. So I went first to show a memorial to scan the photos. So when we had Vashem in Israel, I went to Washington, as you see, and it's funny that I just kept the Washington part because I had to make some choice, and I said there's no point to show all this scanning of the photos, but I wanted to show the photo traveling and Mathilde and Rosette becoming known beyond my family and being kept alive in a sense. And it's funny that the first time it's shown abroad, it's in the US and with you, Scott. So it's like maybe I felt that I should go to Washington and that the movie also should be known in the US. So I hope it's a premiere, but not a dernière. So far there is no other showing plan. But if in the room you wish to show it in school, in universities, in cinemas, TV, everywhere. Please let us know, because we would be very happy to help you with that and make the story known to a broader audience.
Gigi?
Thank you so much. It was a very moving, inspiring presentation, and I really think that the devotion that you have to get this story told means so very much, and it will make a great. It will help a lot of people. I'm with the Chappaqua Holocaust and Human Rights organization, and they have done a lot where they're having even a contest for the children. What I'm trying to say is that Scott Richman is an incredible, incredible man, and if anybody's going to get done or find things out, he's the one that's going to do it. So,
Thank you, Gigi.
So I just want to say it's how amazing that families can be brought together, especially about the subject that you're talking about. And so my question is it going to be available to the schools? I mean, we could bring it to Chappaqua. I'll find out from Scott, and he'll find out from you how to get this film to the Westchester, New York community.
Well, of course, I would be so happy if it would be helpful to school pedagogical team, to teachers, and of course it can be shown to peer students. You have my support and my help if I can do anything to show. Of course, I mean, I think to do to support this. Feel free to contact me, and of course, I will support anything. For me, the real audience, of course, it's you're a real audience, but for me, the top target is a young audience, one that may not be familiar with the Shoah, the Holocaust, an audience that may not be Jewish, and who need to be familiarized with the topic. And really, I think, also to go back to the first question you asked, Scott, it's the timing, it's really time, because as you mentioned, the door will be dead now, it's not alive anymore. This week we've had two Holocaust survivors who died in France, Daniel Goldman and Jacques Lubin. The last witnesses are all dying. So it's up to us to take on the responsibility now to talk to the youngest generation who will not have the opportunity to exchange with the first witnesses. So anything I can do to show it to school in France now, it's really entering the curriculum of history class from middle school to high school, and it's also shown in universities. There is no week when I don't present the movie. Sometimes it's just shown without me. It's perfectly fine. I mean, we developed a set of documents and materials so that it's an autonomous package for teachers to be used. It's not available in English yet, but can try to translate and provide you with the necessary material. I want to thank Scott again, because it pushed me hard to do the subtitling job. And when I met Scott, I didn't tell you that, Scott, but I tell you publicly, I knew it will happen, because I know we are both, I mean, our generation, and also, we were both in the process of, I would say family, I mean, in this family process that we take very seriously and that we consider important to do now. And I could feel it that way. And it's interesting that both on different sides of the Atlantic, we were doing a similar type of process, at least searching for documentation, etc., without knowing each other. At some point, our personal quest converge and leads to outcome, which is this screening. So I think, I think it's more than a cherry on the cake. It's what needed to be done, but we are just, I hope, at the beginning. If I can find ways and time to do it, I would like to subtitle it in Spanish, in Korean, in Chinese, in English, to make Mathilde and Rosette known worldwide. That's my aim, is to make them known as wide as worldwide, and make them superstar in a good sense. I mean, really, that they are the one that we need to remember.
I think I think you hear this clapping. Alice, it's been an incredible journey, and I do hope we continue it. And thank you all for being a part of it.